zero-day vulnerabilities across every major operating system and browser. That is not just a benchmark number. It's a massive, flashing warning sign. It means the AI has reached a level of technical proficiency that actively breaks things, and it's doing it autonomously. This isn't the first time we've seen these scores pop up. The benchmarks are consistently pushing toward human level, and frankly, beyond. The truly unusual part, however, is Anthropic's current posture. They are keeping the model gated, refusing to release it publicly, even while confirming its ability to find critical, exploitable flaws. They are negotiating with national cyber authorities and CISA before making it available. This unusual delay is the story. For the builders of products, this discrepancy, the massive capability versus the restricted release, is everything. We are in a period where the frontier capability is outpacing the lab's willingness to ship. When a model can autonomously map out thousands of zero-day pathways, it means the underlying architecture is not just generating text. It is generating highly sophisticated, actionable intelligence about system failure points. The raw power is undeniable, but the deployment friction is enormous. You can't just plug this into a beta release and expect it to work. You have to build an entire compliance and safety layer just to manage the risk of its sheer knowledge. This isn't about the next feature. It's about the next regulatory hurdle. If the AI can find the flaws, who owns the fix? Who is liable when a product ships and the model is the vector? Companies that treat this as just another API call are going to get burned. The next generation of product development isn't about optimizing the prompt. It's about building the guardrails that allow you to safely contain the intelligence. The market is shifting from "what can this AI do?" to "how can we prove this AI can't do that?"